好，开始。嗨，我是维九，今天继续玩史丹利的预言。我看看，它还是一样要我们再一次设定时间。上次是玩到史丹利的预言，他做了一个 2。那这次我们就来玩接续的。我看一下，中午12点是12点 PM 还是12点AM 啊？应该是 PM 吧。11分，OK。黑狼啊！ Before we get started, can I just say something? Thank you for actually setting the clock both time you have booted up the game. Oh, 他说我设定时钟花很多时间。A lot of people don't take that step seriously. They just leave clock set at 12点0分 at call it a day. 然后说很多人都会就直接设在12点。就预设的 ，But you are actually taking the time to set the clock, and I apparently 这我不会念。Like how I know that you care about this experience, you are paying attention. 他说我很在乎这个体验，然后我玩这个有放注意力在上面。其实。我停在那个画面很久，只是因为我在设定直播的东西而已。I don't even have any way of knowing if the time you are setting are correct. 他甚至不知道我设定的是不是对的。Tell you what, I will make you a deal. 他要干嘛 ？Since you've been so cooperative. 这个字很眼熟。Next time you boot up the game and see this screen, just set the clock to your favorite time. 他说下次我打开的时候只要设一个我最喜欢的时间就好了。Go ahead. Time you want. 他说随便取一个我喜欢的时间，就算它不是正确的时间。他说我值得拥有它。Alright, I will let you get back to the video game now. OK, 他要让我正式开始了。史丹利的预言2，让我切个画面确认一下有没有正常。有正常。可是画面有什么红红的，看起来又有点诡异。继续。我家鸟刚刚一直在乱叫，它到底要干嘛呢
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month.
我好想要这种工作哦。
And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in.
这种工作很多事情可以做啊，你可以一边按键，一边在旁边滑虾皮呀。
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions,
上一集我们在那边选的气球，我选蓝色的，结果他会给我白色的。
Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
我说我解除了一个成就，我不要 come back。噔噔噔噔噔噔噔噔噔噔，为什么你只是做一个这么简单的工作，却会有这么多的文件呢？呀，我不关门会怎样？他要把我关门吗？我会。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
到处都是气球。
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had
我选
simply
的那
missed
个
a
另外
memo.
一个的气球，白色的也不错啊，白色很漂亮啊。这放在办公室里面比较适合。如果我选了白色，然后他给我蓝色的，那放在这里面就有点奇怪。
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
这个黄色箱子之前就有的吗？它看起来很突兀，到处都是气球。
Stanley felt the bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up. Why was he not doing it?
它是什么桶子？哦，桶子！嗨，桶子！我要拿起它吗？嘿。
Stanley picked up the bucket.
关电脑。走路的时候，那桶子还有声音呢。冲啊
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered
！Get
the door
well
on his left.
someday。桶子，桶子，桶子，我要走哪？一样先走左边好了。哦。你别多点几下。嘿。
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office is where he'd find answers.
哦，嗨。
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends, that your relationship is purely superficial and convenient, that your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
这是我的筒子，谁都不能拿走这个筒子，就算是这个工作间也一样。
Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take our with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
Hey, bye bye.
All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate.
有一个。
You see, I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself,
it's a bucket.
It's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
没错，他现在帮我上人的标签，这是我的筒子。
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
他生气了吗？Hello， 只有这2个贴纸吗？我想要更多的贴纸。好吧。噔噔噔噔噔。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
你之前有走过下面吗？好像有，对不对？哦，然后那就陷入那个疯狂的，
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
他还真的加入了收集这个。好，先听他的话一次。啊，我们之前走那个老板的房间的时候，我们没有输入正确的那个密码，然后就很莫名其妙的旁边开了个门，对吧？接下来试试看，我们完全照着他要的做。这个门不能开了吗？还是他本来就不能开？啊！白死了！哦。
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about
mini
stands?
Mini
Stanley
stands.
figs. What about Stanlerines? Yes,
我比较
I
喜
think
欢
I
mini
like that.
stand.
Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Because the boss knows that what the boss say goes. If the boss， 看不懂他在写什么。他的文法是不是有点怪怪的？还是只是我的英文程度不够好？应该只是我的英文程度不够好。噔噔噔噔，为什么没有我的样子呢 ？OK。看起来应该是没有什么别的。这个厕所真的看起来超级格格不入的，为什么呢？这可以开吗？不行，这是进来的房间。有没有藏小子弹？
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos.
我的筒子
It
很
would
有
be
自我
with
意识
him
呢。
always. The bucket would. And he knew
我的
it.
筒子什么
The
都
two
知
of them
道
were。inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the pin number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
我以为会是开后面这扇门，结果还是一样是开这边的门嘛。喂，哦，有一个。
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Oh, 好黑哦。嘿。 下一层。
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
又吓我，操嘞！
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would, but of course, Stanley and the bucket thought better of it and realized they simply had too much to live for.
先走乖乖牌路线。嘿。
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
所以现在这里吗？
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
不能相信任何人，除了我的筒子。好黑哦！哦，我要走哪？不是太黑了耶。这里。
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
如果我按off就是直接原本剧情，我要走原本剧情吗？还是我们按on？
But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this?
我们的桶子
Stanley was
背叛我们
prepared
吗
to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
嗨，鸟鸟，可爱啊！
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable.
Oh, no,
of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
我最后还是很 happy。这样就结束了。我那个手办，我的小史丹还没有收集完全。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Hey, Bucket！ 我的桶子，哦，他的标签还在，好棒哦！
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
这次我们走 escape 那
Stanley
边。
clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
How we can find them? Trust the competition. Competitionist in 这啥意思？我看不懂。我的英文程度低下，看我学测分数一定很低。还教我们怎么找 Red Rune？ 下一张。Thank you, good luck。要再重来一次吗？还会重复哎！我这边全部都换成那个了，怎么找到小史丹利？这里也是。哦，我想知道所有的位置。这是厕所的那张图，这个是在黑黑中的这个。重复了啊！走了。There will be a reward from finding them all. 再进来一次。
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for
他
hours.
说他已经没有更多的贴纸了，他知道我在想什么。好啦，没有更多的贴纸就算了。这下面应该有一个。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
需要重新收集吗？看来应该是不用。对，看起来应该是不用重新收集。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, but of course, Stanley and the bucket thought better of it and realized they simply had too much to live for. Nope, it's death for Stanley and the bucket. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
No.
At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Whoa. 我去哪了？我不会摔死吗？我在哪？
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket. But what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death.
我没死吗？为什么旁白换了一个女的？
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
换了吧？我的筒子呢？ The bucket. 我的筒子。
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
我的筒子，它要消失了。它是不是停在那里了？好像停在那里了。哇，满满的筒子。我之前没有走过街的结局，所以我不晓得这个是正常的吗？还是这边其实原本是别的图片呢？真好奇，为什么会有椅子在这里？筒子可以拿吗？这是古老的筒子。奇怪的声音。筒子。 围绕着筒子，笑死。连这个路都在弄筒子，是怎样？这是怎样？哦，以前我们下的雨没办法接起来，哦，我们有筒子了，耶！我们可以把雨水接起来了。OK。
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
A hanging bucket. 我的筒子，耶！我拿到了吗？
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
我的筒子在我手上。
Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
我死了吗？ 就这样重来了。哎呀！
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Oh,
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
咱们走吧。
Perhaps he had the confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away
这也不走
as
escape
Stanley
的那一
embraced
条
the
路了，
bucket.
太可怕了。哼。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
好像没有走过这里，对不对？
And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
这边好像就是真的回到刚刚那个地方。那这里呢？没有走过哎，好棒哦！
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
Hi.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
好吧，我换音乐。哒哒哒哒哒哒哒啦哒。
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue? Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Da 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 da. 咻，看起来超像用胶带贴的。咻，来，好黑哦。
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
No!
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me, it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
No, I don't agree.
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
不可以，不能让它停下来吗？
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it for the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
No, 这是我的筒子。 其实我刚刚想丢进去了。
The Bucket Destroyer.
对，他把它放进
Prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent. Magnificent.
又重来了。来确认一下我的 YouTube。OK， 很棒。哎，原来有人有留言给我，但我没看到哎。啊，那部怎么没有跳出来呢？ No， 我的筒子。
All of his co-workers were
我要去寻找
gone.
我的筒
What
子。
could it mean?
Yeah.
Stanley decided to go to
还
the
在。
meeting room. Perhaps he had warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his
我
arms
不会
again,
抛向
he
你的
was
筒子
home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meat? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the
踩不过
meeting
去
room.
了。
No,
No.
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo
Yeah,
lift.
go there. 嘿。Good.
Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
啊，他现在跳
Stanley
出
did
来
not
了。
question why or how this bucket was
留言
speaking
现
to
在
him.
跳出来，
It
刚刚
should
没
have
跳出
alarmed him,
来
of。course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him,
yeah.
and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
我想再找那个小史丹利。这是哪呢？哎，
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets
之前有
past
这
this
张吗？
point.
之前有
Stanley,
这
how
张
could
吗
you think it was okay
哦，
to
它
bring
是
the
现在
bucket
新
here?
贴的吧？
Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and
Okay,
what isn't
Patty.
a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's
哦
true,
之前
well,
没有
my
这张
goodness,
吧？
I
骗我
think
的
we have to
吧
do？ something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much
Okay,
of the
Patty.
impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
嗯，好黑哦。Is this a bucket?
Now then, I'm going to run
Hey.
you through some test scenarios, and
我
you'll
的
tell
筒子
me
比较
whether or
华丽，
not
我
the
的
thing
筒
I'm
子的
showing
贴
you
纸。
is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
是。
Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 2. Is this a
是。
bucket? Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual
太小
bucket.
了，明明就都是。
Item 3. Is this a bucket?
我不管，是。耶！
Correct. This is a bucket.
再一次，再一次。啊！
Item 4. Is
我
this
猜
a
他一定
bucket?
是想要骗我点叉叉，但我如果点勾勾的话，他会说什么呢？
Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible.
傻眼了。
Let's just move on to the next one.
去，下一个来。还要再给我按一声。
Is this a bucket?
你看，我就说吧，一定是在玩我心态。
Item 6. Is this a
再按
bucket?
它。
Trick question. Both.
嘿
Gotcha.
嘿。
Item. Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
Hello?
Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless, is that what you
你在说
think?
什么？哲学
Answer me
里
straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket?
，everything is a bucket， 对吗 ？No？
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago, I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I
你
a
是
bucket?
个
Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Eh?
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, I'll reset everything, and we'll put back all the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
会不会整个世界全都是筒子呢？哦，并没有。
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself. That's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
他的台词是变得怪怪的。End is never, the end is never. 为什么全都换成这个啊？这不是他之前一直被念的。The end is never, the end is never.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
全部关掉。为什么全都是这个啦？有点诡异耶，你们。哦。筒子是一定要带上的。
Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around.
带着我心爱的筒子走。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else.
所以这边就是只剩
Now ride the lift all the way to the top.
除非刚刚
There's
选的
something
那
up there
边，
I need you to do.
我们再选别的
Stanley
选
did
项
not
之
question
类的。
why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here,
said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Okay. 之前这边没有接起来。
Now pick up the phone.
Pick
said the
up
bucket.
the
Pick up the phone, and it will take us back home, where we can go about
我
life
可以回去一
together.
起生活。我要跟筒子结婚。
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once
我
upon a
妻子
time,
不在
I
了，
gave
剩下
Stanley
我
a
的筒
bucket
子了。
because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
42GB 可以关门吗？不能关门。漂亮的房间，我也好想要这样子一个房间哦。有一个小厨房，有一个客厅，然后这里会是一个小房间。哦，我的 bucket， 等一下再把你拿起来。哦，如果是住在这样子的地方多好啊！ 这样不知道几平呢？在台湾这样应该几平呢？30平，加房间30平，加房间卫浴30平。叫我男友卖给我。漂亮的房间真好。不过我可能会把一整个区域，也不用整个，一半区域都拿来放我的宠物们，蜥蜴们，呵呵。Oh, hello Stanley, this is me, your bucket. Please ask to take me world with you.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
Huh? 嗨，我的筒子。哦，咱们一起工作。工作完我们再回家。
Lately, I've been concerned about him.
哦，
Wouldn't
这
you
就是
be
我和
concerned
筒
as
子的
well?
新婚
To
生
see him
活。
delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object?
我们一起喝
I
茶
want to say
吗？
something to him, but I don't know how I can
哦，
convince
筒子，
him.
我
I
爱
don't
你。
know if he'll listen to me.
No， 这边不能进去吗？我们不能一起睡觉觉吗？哈，筒子，我们可以一起睡觉觉吗？
Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think. It
No，
can't
他只是我
talk.
的筒
All it would
子，
ever
他
truly
是
do
我的
for
爱
you is
人，是
effectively
吧？
transfer a
我爱
liquid
他，
from
我
one
爱
location
你。
to a different location.
哦，
That's
筒子，
it.
我爱你。
It doesn't
我
do
就是要带给
anything
你。
else.
Don't listen to the loud man. Press J just for us to back home. To back home. 带着他回家，我们不要听那个很大声那个男人讲话。这一周我爱你 ，forever。这个电脑怎么变了？
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket.
哎，
You know,
筒子，
once upon a time, it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal.
我们可以按 N 去无视那一个。哦，我们可以为了筒子去无视那个旁白。哦，这一周我爱你了，筒子。
It's sad. I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to
筒子
it.
就是我的生活。You believe I'm real, don't you, Stanley? 按 P， 咱们回家。
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to
我的
another.
筒子呢？耶！ Over and over， 我们之间永远没有结束。
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a
不，它
bucket.
不只是个
Why do
筒
I
子。
feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just
这
a
个筒子
regular
爱
bucket?
我，我也爱筒子。按 B， 然后我们就回家，然后工作，然后回家，然后工作。
Oh no, I'm having feelings for the bucket. No, 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 no. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing.
Yes.
Yes. The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation.
哦，筒子，你爱我吗？咱们要滚床单了吗，筒子？
Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it, or I'll...
咱们跨越了那条线吗？我和筒子。就这样结束了，笑死！如果我不拿筒子呢？
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a
如果我不拿
memo.
它，好像就会一模一样嘛。诶，这边就变成，又变回不一样的那个。
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure
耶！
together.
我和筒子是在一起的。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was it... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo
有点
lift.
混乱了。我想要
Good,
从这边跳下
said
去
the。bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I...
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
不一样了，为什么不一样了？
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had... Where are we going today? The
Hey,
bucket
我们家
asked.
去哪？
Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be perfectly fine with him. Stanley pressed the bucket upon every little thing in the office. Nothing responded to the bucket's touch, but it did little to discourage Stanley's belief in the magic of the bucket.
啊，回到这里了。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
要走吗？要走吗？要走哪里呢？一样走这里。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
我所有的结局都走了吗？
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yeah.
Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this
他
bucket
要
was
我去
speaking
上
to
面，
him.
有事情
It
要我
should have
做。
alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly
我想走那
convinced
条
that the
路看
bucket
看，
had
那个
spoken to him,
那
and
边有
he
一个手办，
unthinkingly
那
did
边是怎么
whatever the
过去
bucket
的？
asked.
不行不行，我要重来。哦，哦不，我想要自杀的。哇！结果走到这里来，这里打开了。
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless... What if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket.
Okay, go.
Step in here for a moment.
好，又是这里。OK， 好，我们再来选一次。这次咱们全部按叉叉如何呢？
And you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin.
Dun, dun.
Item 1. Is
这
this
次咱们全按叉，
bucket?
上一局我们全按勾，这次人按叉。哒啦，我赢了。
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket,
它不
not
是
an
筒
actual
子。
bucket. Item 2. Is this
它
a
不是
bucket?
筒子。
Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
这次是真的筒子，但我还是要按叉。
Item 3. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot.
Okay, next one. 你猜一点。
Is this a bucket?
No.
Incorrect. This is a bucket.
他也没告诉我为什么这是一个 bucket。
Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
这次我按勾呢，上次我是按叉。
Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a
你
bucket
也
is
抱怨太
nothing?
多了吧
Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing
？Nothing
is
is
a
a
bucket?
bucket。上一局我是选什么啊？
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go.
看他不让我选叉叉哎。
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? and we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go. How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted.
没有筒子，没有筒子的世界。哦不，筒子还是出现了。如果我不拿呢？我要拿上筒子吗？他没有提醒我拿筒子诶。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
没有筒子啊，那我们就可以进去那个房间了嘛，其实。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
我拿不到那个，他之前不是可以让我过去的吗？之前这边不是没有铁网的吗？还是我要拿筒子，他才会让我过去？不。
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful. All of his co-workers were... Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is it? Is this Stanley's office?
对啊，可是，拿上筒子。
A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
不行，好想过去哦！我一定要试出来到底怎么过去。之前搭那个上去的时候，明明就看到那边是可以这样子跳下来的。喂，蹦！
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
不行，到底要怎样才可以拿到那个？
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. The embrace of an old friend. A weathered companionship that stands the test of time.
我和筒子老朋友了。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
到 到底要怎么过去呢？这家有个诱人的，天啊！
Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked. But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
我记得是，好像某一次这里出现蓝蓝的房间的时候，那边就可以过去。所以是为什么呢？
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
要拿吗？拿。
The bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker. In time, perhaps, he would become both of those. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was it... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
这很奇怪，好想下
don't
去
go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
从这里吗？嘿嘿。哦。小心，小心。
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one. And then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
只差一个了。哦吼。 然后我们再去找那个通风管看看，那边没有走过哎，有个可怕的，这是怎么搭起来的呢？这是哪里呢？啊！新的地方，这是什么？好恶心哦，壁癌。 哦 ，Hello， Hello， 好多磁带哦 ，Hello， 这不是打电话的那个电话吗 ？Hello。
This is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket.
如果我不拿筒子，不晓得这里的录音会不会不一
It's
样
my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there? Caporata.
这不是恐怖游戏吧？没了。哼哼，不会吧？刚那一段是怎样啊？对啊，怎么搞到什么恐怖游戏？这明明就不是什么恐怖游戏，为什么会有电话呢？我要接还是不接啊？接。哎、欸，不对，他也不让我接啊。啊？让我接啊？还是你？是你吗？ Hello， 气氛吗？应该是音效不错。他不让我接，好烦躁哦！电话不接起来，真的很烦躁哎。这次我要不拿筒子，走那个筒子，拜拜。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire
然后
it.
再走一次那个
It was okay.
录音带的地方。
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
嘿，看看没有带筒子，他录音会不会不一样？
Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun.
发生什么事？刚刚可没有这段呢。
That it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path
Are you
that it seemed the
okay?
office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten.
Hello？
You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording? It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
这不是我的错 ，Why？ 我只是把你按掉而已。
All of his co-workers were gone.
这
What
次
could it mean?
没有电话
Stanley
了。
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
我要带上筒子吗？带上筒子再走一次的话，就一样的吧？开始变成恐怖游戏，是吧？
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
地球，地球，瞧一下位置。这是他后来的新增的吗？这原本就是这个。For jumping over the cliff， 原本有这个牌子吗？
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Oh, 来这里了。
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. And there it is, the last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
结束了，没有给我点成就什么的。操！刚刚是说蓝色门还是红色门？走蓝色的门。
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
No. 继续走蓝色会怎样吗？会跟之前一样的结局吗？
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop
要再一
you.
次来玩婴儿了吗？
You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Left door. 又回来了。
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version.
Okay.
Candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Oh. Huh? 这是新的吗？我 online 这是我？真的吗？他说为什么不问朋友？Error， 我没有朋友。操，这是在嘲讽我的意思吗？啊？我真的有玩了7个小时这么久吗？才没有吧，才没有吧！哼，这次换左右边，又回来了。
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
好啦。
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and
结束
now
我
would
肚
be a
子饿了
lovely
哦，我要
opportunity
去
to
叫
give
外
it some
送了。
playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
又是这个。
In this game,
去
the
死吧
baby
，baby！
crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out.
Bye-bye.
I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
一样的。
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems
其实
obvious
就瞭
to
望
me
远
that you are
感觉
meant
还
to
蛮
play
多
as a
事情可
creepy
以做
man,
的。
spying on innocent
看
civilians
书
below
啊，如
you
果是
from
我，
up
可能
high
就
in
带
your
一堆
great
画画
tower,
材料来
perhaps
这
for some
边，
sort of twisted erotic
整天画画就
purpose.
饱了。
Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the
这是什么呢？
experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
这个声音真的很好笑哎，迈克尔的开门声。喂喂。
Oh no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
哦，被挡起来了。
Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing.
而且还要
That
等他
big
啰嗦
open,
完。
just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any. Oh, thank
Yes.
heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
要来那个足球场。嘿，
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
他现在呢？
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no
这
racetrack.
场地真够
Okay,
大
I'm
的。
seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this
为什么我的
game
人物不能
sports
跑起来
ball?
呢？
Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the
走好
bases
慢
and do
啊
a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have
哎，
fun.
结束这个好像就是只能跳下去。
Hold on.
What are you doing? 嘿，
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that, Stanley.
好，恐怖游戏要走哪里呢？啊！哇！之前也走过这里啦，看来好像没有带着桶子就不太会有什么新的结局耶。可是这个地方就是要不带桶子才能走得过来。啊！
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
哈？有结束吗？哦，重来了。哇，所以没有带着桶子，其实就结局就是跟第一轮是一模一样的。啊，等一下，哎，
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines. Those figlets. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone? I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
他这次直接带我跳到这里来，太神奇了吧！直接来他的回忆小屋。原本有这一条的吗？没有吧？新的。哎，这不是那个吗？好了发。啊，果然不能开，嘿，所以就也只能走这儿了。可以爬梯子。
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were
那带我
so
们回来
innocent.
收集这个。
We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
哦，7/6，多拿一个。还有别的地方可以去？刚刚的地方呢？哎，封起来了。干，这很恐怖游戏。
And here was the second Stanley. I'll be honest, back then I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways.
接下来呢？他直接带我去走每一个收集手办的地方，哎，是吗？
Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini stand? Can you remember?
第3个手，这里吗？还是这里呢？第一个是在楼梯下面，第二个是在这个厕所。 第三个应该是右边这一个吧？这应该是第2个，这第3个，然后第4个，等一下，到底是第3个、第4个？ 第一个，让我好好想想。第一个在楼梯下面。第2个，对，楼梯下面拿完之后就是去老板房间。这应该是第2个，这应该是第3个。好，就不管就知道这。
No. Behind the boss's office was the 4th place you found a Figanli, not the 3rd. Well, I guess perhaps I shouldn't be surprised. Memories like these are so precious and so cherished that they all just sort of blend together, don't they? You know what? If the boss's office feels like the 3rd place you found a collectible, then who am I to go making judgments? Let's see, what came next? Oh yes, we found a figly in this pink room. Oh, well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
苹果。接下来，这是我后来再找到的那一个。
This was the 5th mini stand, and this one was really something special. It was in the warehouse. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
还有做影片是？好热血哦！第5个，他是截取我的画面吗？不是吧？应该不是吧？这是素材。
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
接下来呢？我要往哪里走？这里吗？哦。
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the Final Figurine, right here by the red and blue doors. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a figly and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
两边好像是一样的。You are in the present. 我在礼物之中。那个电视机上面是我的画面。为什么？ Hi. Hi. Hello?
And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, Memory Zone.
What?
No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen.
Isn't
there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
他也可以把 loading 到，我认真以为他在 loading 要我回去的意思？好了。
Okay, yes, the room with the red and blue doors. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going. I want more.
更多了，越来越多了。花的，他到底要多少？他要我走回去继续收集。
And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we watched?
随便快速是怎样？
Yes,
还
I
硬要
love
播
that
一次哎
video.，
操嘞！哦，差点掉下去。哎，这个时候掉下去会怎样吗？
Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room. These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have muted the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
寻找回忆中。那如果走这里呢？没有任何东西。只能走回去啦。
This was our second Figley. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past
那我
is
第一个
truly
在哪
a
里找到的？
wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever
哦
choose to，
第一
leave
个
it?
是在那个
Keep going.，
第一个是在哪里啊？第一个是在这个。
This is it, the very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figurines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
哦，回到这里了。 不能再走了吗？挡住了。哎，为什么变黑黑的了？太恐怖游戏了吧？嗯，之前亮亮的模样呢？哦，它直接接到跳圈圈。
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally
我想要
sold
跳
on. I remember hating it back then, but time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more memories.
啊，回来了！啊，这个时候还没有气球哎。
yes, the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one.
我们回到了最原始的地方。
And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember. Yes, I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy. And I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with.
不需
You
要
know what?
史丹利了吗？
Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
刚那算大结局了吧？啊，结束了吗？一切都回到最原始的地方。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
我的桶子依然在，我需要拿起它吗？哦，有人在偷玩打牌，看到了没有？在玩接龙。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his
像
left.
一切都跟原本一模一样耶！哇，我觉得刚那应该就是最后了吧？我想我应该还没有什么其他没破的结局了吧？我找不到了，是这样子吗？啊，也录了好久了。如果还有什么结局，就下次再玩吧。先休息，拜拜，拜拜，拜拜。